Greetings, friends. My name is Rashonda Harris, and I'm joining you for Incura's YouTube Tuesday to share allyship versus accomplice. Let's unpack it. Is allyship a new word? Of course, it is not. The word first surfaced in the mid-1800s, but allyship was actually added to dictionary.com in 2021 at the same time it became the word of the year. It is not just a buzzword, although it can feel like it. An ally is someone is defined as someone who is not a member of a marginalized group, but wants to support and take action to help others in that group. And so this is why allyship is important. An ally takes action in the workplace. An ally in the workplace is critical for the inclusion and equity of others. Allyship is something that is a lifelong process of building supportive associations and relationships based on trust, consistency, and accountability with marginalized individuals in that group. An ally actively promotes and inspires to advance a culture of inclusion through intentional, positive, and conscious efforts. Allyship acknowledges that minority groups are shaped by a separate set of experiences. Often this means a different way of thinking, which can translate to an out-of-the-box solution. This is also a way to provide someone who may be overlooked a chance for contribution and recognition in the workplace. So you heard me talk a little bit about what an ally is, but now I'm going to share the difference between an ally versus accomplice. And when we think of the word ally, we think of someone who is supportive, who is on our side and has our back. But what does it really mean? An ally means to support, and it means to have someone who supports those in which they have a common interest. In terms of diversity, equity, and inclusion, an ally can seem like an empty buzzword because it takes more than support to make a difference. And so some people claim to support the principles of diversity, equity, and inclusion, but yet few are courageous enough to put their own jobs or on the line by speaking out against prejudice and discrimination in the workplace. And so the word accomplice, it has a bit of a bad rap. It's often equated with wrongdoing. However, when it comes to diversity, equity, and inclusion, accomplices are willing to take the necessary steps to ensure that their workplace is safe from physical, verbal, and mental abuse, i.e. those microaggressions we often see. To be an accomplice, one must be willing to do more than listen. They must be willing to stand out with those who are being attacked, excluded, or otherwise mistreated, even if that means suffering personal or professional backlash. Being an accomplice means being willing to act with and for oppressed people and accepting the potential fallout from doing so. Most people have good intentions, and when they are allies, they support the plight of people of color and those that are marginalized in various groups in ways that is comfortable for them. However, allyship is not enough. In order to disrupt the racism at work and achieve equity, one must be willing to move from ally to accomplice. As an accomplice, you will walk the walk and talk the talk and take the steps necessary to dismantle the power structure of supremacy and create a substantial, sustainable societal and institutional change that treats all persons with dignity and respect. Here are some ways allyship can surface in the workplace: utilizing your privilege, acknowledging that it is important to have dates of milestones of other parties. This means non-traditional holidays. Also communicate, openly communicate, creating an environment where others feel comfortable to speak up. Acknowledge and recognize their expertise. And what that means when we say their, it means other groups, the marginalized groups. Understand that there is value to be gained. We often look at things from a deficit model versus an asset contribution. There are lots of assets that can be contributed by and from marginalized groups. Allyship can foster authentic inclusivity because it creates an altogether workplace and culture where workers are less likely to feel isolated and on the margins. Allyship is also something that creates a better culture by including everyone in the conversation and actions of inclusion. Leadership actions. If you are a leader, these are actions you can take to be a stronger, better, or even start to be an ally. Educate yourself. Understand what you're saying before you say it so that you do not offend is important. Speak from facts. Resist the urge to tell others what they need. There's often a savior complex where people like to come and assume what marginalized groups need. Oh, I see it from here, you need this. And so I'm going to come to the rescue, and here I've given you what you need. My allyship is complete. Not so fast. Actually, that means that you've misstep because you did not ask what they needed, you assumed what they needed. Practice the art of listening. Be sure that you give people the opportunity to speak up without feeling that they will have backlash. Don't put other people into boxes. Ask rather than assume. And then recognize that privilege is indeed a power. Allyship, again, is a long life process of building supportive associations and relationships based on trust, consistency, and accountability with marginalized groups. Okay? And to leave you with, here's what makes someone an ally: being self-aware, being a critical thinker, great listener, an advocate for marginalized populations, inclusive to all regardless of their background, and information seekers. Being an ally is not just a label you give yourself. It is earned only through your non-performative actions. By saying you are trying to be an ally, you're working on being an ally. You're letting your colleagues know that you're willing to do the work and keep learning as you go. Committing to allyship is a lifelong process, not a trend, because it's a popular thing to do. So, my friends, I hope you've enjoyed this YouTube Tuesday. Thank you for joining me.